Okay, I'm revisiting the Czerny road variations, or La Ricordanza as they're known. Also made famous in the more or less modern era by the 18-year-old Vladimir Horowitz, who has an astonishing recorded version of this out, and I think that's what popularized it for a lot of people. Anyway, I'm going to play part of the end of the third variation, where I stopped just before lunch. Yes. This is a fingering issue. Getting to the one is no big deal after that octave. Then the question is, what do I do? Philippe has me going 4, 3, 2, 3. I'm reasonably sure. Well, maybe I did that. It's too bad. I have few historical traces in here. That's probably good. It's really a question of understanding the nature of the fingering, not just executing it. Like if I go to 4, one going to 4 over the span of a second, white-black, is not a pleasant thing, unless it's what's happening afterwards. So, if that makes sense to my body, and my mind can explain it to me. In other words, I go to the thumb, and in my head, I group it after the thumb, which makes it easy to execute. Exactly. Otherwise, I'll twist my head, thumb and then. Okay, so I'll draw a line there. 1 and then. Exactly. Let's see, more of these 3-note things. Same thinking as before. 4 on the ones that go to black notes. That would be 2 in a row. 4, 4, 3, 3. This is very screwy notation because I have the 8th note, 16th note, and obviously, let me see what I'm about to say. Well, there's no indication of when the 16th notes are actually triplets, other than that there's beaming to indicate that these are sextuplets. The first 2 notes look just like 16th notes, so it's 1 and 2. It could be this as well, but it's slightly sloppy notation, so it's left to my discretion. I take it. Whoa. So definitely, if my hand feels at all compressed, it's not just that I might execute it more poorly now, but that's the very sort of thing that may booby-trap your best intentions in a performance. So I want to feel that these gestures are as comfortable as can be and dependable as can be. So that rocking getting me out to the fourth finger and relaxing my hand is important to me. So, 4 and 4, 4 and 4, and 3 and 3, that's it. And 4 and 4 and 3 and 3. There we go. Good. Fourth variation is the slow variation. I've overridden an old finger, 5-4-2. I'm sorry, this is an old piece, so I've overridden an old fingering with an even older. No, I've adopted an old fingering that overrode an even older fingering. So I'm finishing with my fifth finger and moving up with fifth finger. D major. Variation without repeats. It's also the most complex one, so I have to be very careful. There's enough meandering around, harmonically and otherwise, to make it distinctly different. And the fact that it doesn't move quickly also requires that I be more in my head and my ear. But that, in fact, requires that I make good physical decisions as well. In the last line of this variation, it goes, what does it do? To a C minor chord, which is, this is the way it was. So it should be a repeated chord. variation proceeds right into a coda. There is the standard form of the fifth variation, just like the theme and the others, but then it goes beyond. So in the second ending, it just takes off and adds figuration, and then finally the theme comes back with a little bit of added on variation, just to make it a little delicious and to provide a beautiful sense of conclusion. So here I am in the fifth variation. So it's not uncomfortable, it just zigzags around at breakneck speed, so it's allegro vivace. It's really important that the choreography be simple and refined. As you can, a lot of that has been internalized, so it comes back quickly without my reviewing. This is important. This C natural 1-4-5 is not a big deal so long as I don't anticipate. Yes, up the octave. Whoops. So it's not all up. I need enough fingers. And I need a simple hand position. It just so happens this is the one place, although the left hand has been going with quarter note, eighth note, quarter note, eighth note. But here it's all eighth notes, then it's a half note, so it's half note. And then back to the held, quarter notes. Whole, half notes. Okay, so simplified. And I have to compare. I do recalling in the first half. And here it's a straight scale instead of a turn. That's something to be differentiated between. Again, a half note. it's too easy, and the mistake I made there physically, I tightened up my hand and tried to drive those fingers to the keys rather than feeling the open hand positions. That's this and this. So if I do that, I run the risk that I'm in a tight position, trying to make my fingers do what they don't do uncomfortably. So, and also, I've got to avoid anticipating the downward scale, or rather the downward arpeggio. It's an easy arpeggio, but if I start it tight, or if I started committed to another position, it's suddenly not comfortable. Especially when I'm playing this B flat 7th. If my second is going to be on F, and if I just approached it with my second on G, I can't be in two places at once. So I've got to commit to the G, and then commit to a different position for the arpeggio. It's probably, I'm going to bring my arm around to shift my hand entirely to where I need it. So shift, shift, stay out, don't anticipate, stay out. So it makes a big difference. So it changes. That's where this is the announcement of the coda, where instead of the descending arpeggio, I need a third fingering. Philippe writes 4, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's a little tricky. Maybe the only one. If I'm going to do that, what I can't do is have the fourth define the hand position following. Fine fingering right after the G flat. I think I prefer a third followed by a 1, and then I can shift to Philippe's finger. 3, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. I must say that when you reapproach let me call it a historical piece, when you reapproach a piece you've played a long time ago, one of the delicious things you get to do is not just say, I've got to remember everything I did, but to revisit those places that you remember were persnickety in some fashion. They're mildly challenging, mildly irritating or frustrating, and the opportunity to just have a fresh attitude and just try different things. In this case, one finger change makes a big difference to me. So, it's a yippee moment. Let's try to revisit. Let's see, I'd better find out how far it goes. It goes down to B flat. I've got to be careful not to tighten up. All I have is this third, but 1 to 5 over a third is not a good feeling. So it's 1 and then it's 5. And if my arm delivers the 5, it's not a compressed hand. There's an interesting pedal effect here. It's got me playing playing a B flat seventh mute, it says, which implies as I go by, I hold those notes without adding an impression. That's a really nice effect. So that means I'm going to have the 5/7 sonority under whatever else I'm playing. How far do I go? Only up this far. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. A slightly odd position and fingering, so I have to be careful because I'm going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 from G to A flat to E flat to D to F. So if you try that out, the place that's the most suspicious or untrustworthy for the body is going from 3 to 4 over that major third. So do I put up with? Yeah, if I'm careful to do several things. One is not to rush it, because it's going to set up a little cascade of a device here. The other is to make sure I move from 3 to 4, so that my arm positions my hand on the D rather than reaching. If I reach, although I could reach, it's so uncomfortable. Same principle here. None of these are hard. They're little diminished chords moving down chromatically. So if I just stay with my hands in position, there'll be all kinds of idiosyncrasies to the hand position. If I move to optimize the feeling of ease, I'll be fine. I have to know how far it goes. Okay, I've circled where it signals the end. As I approach E flats, the first time the left hand is not playing half steps. Is that right? Let's see. So, the thing about this oscillation is that a B flat bass note joins it after 1. Then I have 4. So effectively, when the B flat comes in, it's the mark of a phrase or a measure. It up this way, it makes no sense for me to do that. I'm going to go 3 notes in the left and 1 note in the right, because that way my right gets to be in position to play the melodic line, and even to voice the B flat as a melodic line.